Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of October 19th, 2014. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. This week we have, at least as we start the week, a continuation of the energy I spoke of at length in last week's horoscope. So you may want to have another look at the introduction to last week's horoscope, where I spoke about a very special configuration taking place right now called the Triangle of Potential. So this is the Sun, Mercury, and Venus in the sign of Libra, traveling very closely together, speaking to Mars and Jupiter. In a sense, creating a little triangle in the sky, if you will, a geometric pattern of harmony. And just as it sounds, opportunity to develop ourselves, being shown a direction, being handed keys, and then it's up to us to decide if we're going to run with it and how we're going to be made better thanks to the inspirations, the ideas, the emotions, and the conversations that we have. So all of that is on offer, especially as we start the week. So a continuation of this energy in the early part of the week. Peak moments taking place right as we start the week with Venus in harmony, in a peak moment, harmony with Mars, Mercury in harmony with Jupiter. So Venus and Mars speaking, that pretty much always is really good for romance. Okay, so there's a lot of love in the air there. And you add to that the fact that Mercury is speaking in harmony with Jupiter, and I think that this is mental hope. This is really about communicating in ways that restore hope, that allow you to see a more expansive perception as well. So lots of good things taking place as we start the week. But of course, the really big news to take place this week, among the really big news, is a solar eclipse that is happening on the 23rd of the month or the 24th, depending where you are on the planet. And with this particular eclipse, what is so interesting to me that is taking place, I'm going to break it down a little bit, because on the 23rd, the sun moves into the sign of Scorpio. And around 9 hours later, Venus moves into the sign of Scorpio. And then an hour after Venus moves into Scorpio, we have this new eclipse taking place. It's a new moon eclipse. Yes, it's a solar eclipse. That's what it is. And so with this taking place, with the sun and Venus having newly stepped into an energy, and to have an eclipse take place, well, as I've explained before, eclipses really are, they can feel like they bring information that seems to come out of nowhere. But really, when we're honest with ourselves, we can say that actually the information was right there. It was in our face all the time, but we hadn't wanted to acknowledge it. We hadn't wanted to see it before. And eclipses are like your normal. A solar eclipse is sort of like a new moon, but it is like 20 times more powerful, because it has a little bit of the flavor of Uranus in there in terms of the shock value, surprise value that might be there. The other thing with eclipses is that there's a very strong sort of fadedness to them. So it is about bringing you back on track with the promises that the soul made before it incarnated. So what it is that you desire to do with this lifetime. Ultimately, eclipses are about bringing you back into alignment with that higher intention of the soul, as they do involve the nodes. Now, the thing is that depending on how far off you've gotten on that path will depend on how dramatically the universe needs to bring you back to that path. So if you're a person who's pretty conscious and strives to live in alignment with the soul intention, then you will find this a time that's refreshing, that makes you go, oh, wow, yeah, of course, that's so obvious. Oh, I didn't see it. Ha, ha, ha. Like, you know, very, very, not necessarily mild, but there's an ease to it. There's a flow to it, because you get it that, okay, yes, that was actually right there. The obvious was staring at me and I hadn't wanted to acknowledge it, but now I embrace it. If you are a person who hasn't really been into that, then this can be a time where you just feel a little bit like, oh, wow, okay, that's what needs to start now. We're doing this now. Okay, universe. And so either way, it can be an adventure, and either way, it can be a lot of fun as well. But this is an eclipse taking place just as these planets step into a new sign. They are at what astrologers call 0 degrees. So they haven't even stepped into the sign fully yet. They don't really know, haven't really started working with the energy, and then boom, we have an eclipse. So what that represents is a beginning. Just as it sounds, it's as if we, in at least one area of life, are invited to step into a new understanding, begin something without fully understanding just what it is or how we're going to work with it and how it really serves us to our advantage. However, when new opportunities show up during an eclipse, it is wise to listen because, as I said, there tends to be a strong fated quality to the information and opportunities that do come up at this time. The other thing that is taking place late in the week is that, so right around the same time, we have Mercury standing still in the sky. And towards the end of the week, we'll begin to go what astrologers call stationary direct. So Mercury will go direct by the time the week ends. Mercury goes direct. However, as I've spoken about before, it isn't, Mercury goes direct. Okay, now let's do what we want to do. It doesn't exactly work that way. This is part of a wise universe. Mercury retrograde is great for so many things. Part of a very wise universe that wants us to really look at what it is that we're doing, what we believe, what we want, so that we can make sure we're clear and that we are strong, so that we understand and have put the things in place that most likely are going to lead to positive results, to results that we truly want. So Mercury retrogrades can be a great time if you embrace them. With this particular Mercury really standing still in the sky, these are the potent moments. These are the times that you really want to watch. Now, I want to invite you to think back to what was taking place in your life in the middle of September, because it is really Mercury will return to the exact place that he was in the middle of September. So whatever issues I would have said at the time, make sure you're jotting down what's coming up for you, what reconsiderations, what understandings are coming up for you, because now you're going to get some further clarity come October 24th. So here we are. Whatever it was that might have arisen, whatever you might be mulling over, whatever opportunities or new understandings that you've been trying to initiate, or things that seem like you had to go back and look at again, where it was that you wanted to give something another try, and that started for you in the middle of September, this is your chance to step back and say, okay, this is where we are, this is what is really happening, and to get really clearer with yourself about exactly what the longer term lesson is. It is that moment that makes you go, oh, okay, yes, this is the truth that I hadn't wanted to see. This is the reality of the situation. Now I have my clarity. Now I have all the information. And from here begins resolution. So after Mercury stands still, it tends to be a really potent time when the truth comes in, clarity comes in. The most important moments of Mercury retrograde happen when Mercury is standing still in the sky, as he will by the end of the week. And then Mercury going direct is a chance to now bring to resolution the things that would have arisen for us in the earlier, a few weeks ago, really, in the middle of September and throughout this month as well. Mercury will now retravel for a third and final time the exact path that he's been going over in retrograde throughout most of this month. So there is our opportunity there. Very exciting. And the fact that this is happening right during an eclipse as well suggests to me that we get the information we need to go forward. For some people, it's going to feel like finally I can go forward. For other people, it's going to be a little bit more deeper. It's going to be a little bit more reflective, where we say, okay, now I understand what I really want to do. Maybe you were pursuing something because you weren't really clear on what you really wanted, or you thought you wanted it, but it wasn't for really genuine reasons. This is when a lot of self-honesty kicks in for us and really should be welcomed. I think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity. The fact that this eclipse is happening with Venus suggests beginnings on so many levels, but really heart-based beginnings that take place now. And you add to that the element of Mercury bringing clarity. Our mind is in on the game as well. Our mind knows exactly what it is that we want and exactly what direction it is that we most desire to go next. Well, thank you so much for watching the introduction. If you want to click ahead to your sign, please do click on the timestamp in the YouTube description. I want to thank you guys so much for all your interactions on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, on YouTube, my website, nadiyashah.com. Truly so grateful for it. And I also wanted to share, I've been getting a lot of really great feedback from you guys about the daily horoscopes, the daily overviews that are now on my site. It's a joint venture co-written with the good people at Symbolic Living. So I'm really very excited about that. And thank you so much to all the people who come onto the website every single day to read that. It truly is it's very moving for me to be some small part of your sacred journey. And all the wonderful feedback especially has truly meant so much to me. So thank you for that. And of course, I really love your questions as well. If you have any technical astrology questions about my approach to astrology, please do reach out. Let me know. I am creating a whole bunch of videos for you guys as part of my special series that I have been doing. And what we also have is if you are looking to have more personal questions answered in regards to your own situation, please do consider personalized horoscopes where I can look at your chart. However, I truly am so grateful for this moment, and I hope that these videos in some way provide you with an omen that restores hope, that restores inspiration, really is my hope with these videos. And ultimately, everything I do is about affirming that the universe is wise and loving. I really believe that that is my mission in life. That really is what it comes down to. And everything I offer is about affirming that in the world, that the universe is wise and loving. And I do hope that this horoscope you received today is, it helps to affirm that in your own life as well. So how all these wonderful celestial happenings I spoke about speak to you and your sign is coming up right now. Hello, fabulous Aries. This week we have an eclipse taking place that really is going to be the dominant energy for just about all of us. And for you, this eclipse has to do with trust. How much do you trust? How much are you able to trust as well? And what are you willing to share? The fact that Mercury is going to stand still in your opposite sign at the same time does suggest that love and relationships, all of that is a part of this understanding as well. What is love going to mean to you? What's partnership going to mean to you? And seeing other people more clearly is part of this as well. I do think that there is an element here that does have to do with, when I talk about sharing, I think about it not just in terms of the material, though that does seem to be a consideration, but also on a more personal level, sharing that has to do with how much are you going to allow yourself to be vulnerable to another person. Well, I do think that a lot of Aries out there are actually going to get that opportunity, actually seemingly out of nowhere, quite by surprise, the opportunity to really lay yourself bare and share things that you might not normally want other people to know. Now comes that opportunity, and it's going to be up to you to decide if you're going to run with it. It does look like afterwards you may be feeling like, okay, where's that going to lead and what is this going to mean? And you may not necessarily know all that answer, and that's okay, because ultimately it's not really about where it is that it leads. It is about you knowing that you can share, that you can be open, that you can be honest, and know that you really are safe to do so. When you speak your truth, there is something that is very transformative that happens just in the act of speaking it, regardless of what happens next. Hello, fabulous Taurus. This week we have an eclipse taking place in your opposite sign. I spoke about this in the monthly horoscopes, the love horoscope for you especially. And this is really going to be a time when your partnerships are going to take focus. And this could be a time when you start something new with a partner, or you consider what a new partnership might be. Now, here's the thing. Partnership, it can be romantic, yes. It can be business, yes. This is a 0-degree Scorpio, a 0-degree eclipse taking place in your opposite sign with Venus. And so there is that connotation there of warm feelings, of love, of bringing heart to it. But it is 0 degrees. So it is as if you want to begin something. There's a desire to begin. It's a fresh start. It's an inspiration. It's ideas. Now, how you're actually going to develop that is really going to be up to you. I do think that slowly but surely you will be considering this, and it will be a little later on, most likely once we get you into the month of November and Mercury re-enters your opposite sign as well. I think that's when a lot of the details are going to start to be flushed out, but this is really a great time to meet somebody new romantically or business-wise, to start a new initiative with another person as well. All of that seems especially blessed for you now. If you are open to love, this is going to be a time that teaches you so much about just what it is that you need and where it is that you now are ready to begin again in the context of love. Hello, fabulous Gemini. This week we have your ruling planet standing still and going direct right around the same time that we have an eclipse taking place. Now, the eclipse is taking place in a part of the sky for you that has to do with your work. It has to do with what you're doing day in and day out, sort of your daily rituals as you go about your business. So all of that is going to be open to change, and in some cases quite surprising change, and in some cases perhaps very heartwarming change as well. Venus is right there with this eclipse, so there's naturally an element of love to this. And so it could be a new person who enters your workspace sphere that you have warm feelings towards, and they may be romantic feelings as well. Or it may just be that you decide to start something new that is based on bringing more love into your life, bringing more feelings of pleasure into your life as well. So I got to say, when I look at something like this, I don't necessarily see like you starting a really intense workout regimen. It seems more like you decide that, you know what, I really want to cook really well for myself on a more regular basis. Is that type of thing, because Venus is about pleasure. It's about being a connoisseur. It's about enjoying life. And that is the energy you're going to be asked to bring to every area of life and to actually incorporate that energy more into your day. Now, you add the fact that your ruling planet is going to stand still in a part of the sky that has to do with love for you. And so it does look like sort of light bulbs are coming on, if you will, and clarity is coming in, if you will, and you are starting to get a really much clearer understanding of just what it is that you want, what it is that you are going for in the context of love, and what it is that who it is really, like what it is that you actually have with another person. Who this other person is, what are they actually bringing to the table? These are all going to be elements that become a lot clearer to you now. And from there, you can decide how much this person is going to be integrated into your regular daily life. Hello, fabulous Cancer. This week we have an eclipse taking place in a part of the sky that has to do with the feelings of love, the feelings of romance. Now, I actually did speak about this in the monthly love-focused horoscope for you, so you will want to watch that again because those themes are going to be especially highlighted for you now this week. And it does look like, for those of you who are open to love, this really could be a time when you meet somebody that just seems to really capture your attention almost immediately. It can just seem to come right out of nowhere, and there seem to be very heartwarming feelings involved in this. Those of you who are actually in an established bond, there's a strong element here of fertility. So I'm just going to sort of make you aware of that. Okay, there's a strong element here of fertility. And because of that connotation, if that's something you want, this can be a time when you just get a surprise along those lines. If that's not something that you're looking towards, then this is going to be a time when You're going to have to be a little careful, right? Bring mind into the mix and direct this energy elsewhere. And you can direct this energy by spending time with children, or spending time in creative projects, or reconsidering what love means to you and getting a fresh perspective on love. And that's ultimately what the sky invites you to do now, to look at love from a fresh perspective, from a new perspective, and from a perspective where you can feel your heart wide open. Hello, fabulous Leo. Well, we do have a solar eclipse taking place this week, and the sun is your ruling planet, or luminary rather. So when an eclipse takes place, a solar eclipse, you feel it more than other signs. Now, you add to this the fact that this eclipse is taking place in a part of the sky that has to do with home, and this can be you moving. This can be you deciding that you want to move, that you're ready to move. This is you finding a home out of nowhere. This is you selling your home, just seemingly allowing you that fresh start. But there's an element of new, there's an element of next. But keep in mind, as I mentioned in the introduction, this is a 0-degree eclipse. So it's a start. It's a brand new beginning. But the details are still going to need to be fleshed out. And so you will have to wait until we get you to November, once Mercury enters the same part of the sky, to really flesh out the details. But for now, it does look like you've got the inspiration and very likely the opportunity to make changes on the home front. So for some of you, these changes might just be aesthetic. It might just be that you decide, you want to look at something different when you look around your home. And so you decide to redecorate. But for some of you, there may be an element of actually moving. For some of you, this is going to be a chance to see your parents with a fresh perspective, or to see your past with a different perspective as well. And that perspective really can change everything, change the way that you understand yourself, change the way you understand other motivations as well. When I look at this particular configuration, I think about how one of these really important moments that take place in psychological development and development of the psyche is that time in a person's life. And I think that this is one of the markers of adulthood, really, is when you recognize that your parents are just people, that they're people who did their best with what they knew how to do, with what they could do, given the context of their own lives, and the emotional skills and abilities that they have. I think that a lot of times, sometimes, some of us can be a little hard on our parents, but the truth is that really they do the absolute best that they can. And even if that feels like it isn't what we needed as a child, thankfully, once we're adults, we're able to give ourselves exactly what it is that we need. I think that that's a marker of adulthood. That's part of the sacred lesson of one of the key planets, Saturn, which I'll talk more about in the Saturn specials, of course, upcoming. They will be published very soon. But I do think, even though Saturn isn't involved in the mix, I do think the fact that the way that this eclipse is speaking and where it is speaking in your chart does suggest that you take a forward leap in this process of really seeing what was with a different lens, seeing your primary caregivers with a different lens. And from there, really, all it takes is a moment. And that moment, looking at the past differently, can really redefine who you know yourself to be. And once you get that clarity on who you are, the future can just alter dramatically. It is as if now, and I don't say this lightly, it is as if now you get a fresh perspective on what was, and from there, you put yourself on a whole other trajectory to a brand new future. Hello, fabulous Virgo. This week we have your ruling planet standing still in the sky, in a part of the sky that has to do with self-worth, among other things, but it has to do with a sense of self-worth. And you add the fact that we have got an eclipse taking place in a part of the sky that has to do with speaking your truth. It has to do with communicating and conversation. Now, I look at this conversation and it ultimately, these two together for you, to me, suggest clearing the air. That's really what it comes down to. It's like a conversation that needs to be had, something that needs to be said that hasn't been. Now you get the chance to do just that. And perhaps you will do that with the actual person involved and perhaps not. You are going to decide what is right in the context of your unique situation. However, it does look like it is communicating, it is the exchange of information that really helps to clarify what was and helps bring a sense of resolution that leaves you feeling proud of yourself, that leaves you feeling better about yourself as well. There is also a financial connotation to this as well, because of course we have Mercury standing still in a part of the sky that has to do with finances for you. So if there have been any ongoing financial talks, considerations, and this is not necessarily about settlements. That's the other part of the sky. This is more about money that you earn, and this is also about spending as well, especially where it comes to joining or spending money, or thinking about that in the context of a cousin or a sibling. This is going to be a time when a lot of clarity comes, and I think that some of you out there may be approached by a sibling or a cousin to actually spend money. And so it's going to be up to you to decide if that's something that you actually want to do. But it does look like ultimately you say something and you say the thing that needs to be said, and you listen as well. And that in turn allows you to restore a sense of openness and calmness on a level of heart and on a level of mind as well. Hello, fabulous Libra. This week, the big news for you is the fact that you have got Mercury standing still in your sign and then going direct. When Mercury does this, stand still in your sign, it is a chance for you to get clear on who you are. That's really what it comes down to, who you are. When Mercury is in your sign, that's what you're considering. When Mercury retrogrades in your sign, you're reconsidering. You're looking at the past, looking at what you demonstrated. Is that who I really am? Is that who I want to be? Why did I make the choices I did before? How am I different today? How am I going to redefine myself today? All of that comes up for consideration. And when Mercury stands still, it is you accepting what now is and what you now are ready to move forward with as a demonstration of who you really are. And so this tends to be a time when ultimately it is choice time. And it's choice time that comes from a place of heart. It's choice time that comes from a place of clarity and a place of self-knowledge. That's really key here. Self-knowledge is the key that really is going to allow you to make a choice that feels as if it is rooted in integrity and rooted in a sense of clear identity as well. You add to this the eclipse is happening in a part of the sky that has to do with valuing yourself, and it is as if that clarity you get into who you are is able to be translated into a deeper understanding of just what it is that you're worth. And that in turn can change so many different aspects of your life. And of course, including your financial reality as well. Hello, fabulous Scorpio. This week we have an eclipse taking place in your sign. Now that's really significant. That's really huge, because that is you seeing yourself and who you really are dramatically differently in an instant. Now, I would have spoken about this at length in the monthly horoscope, so I will invite you to look at that. But I do want to say the fact that Venus, I reiterate, the fact that Venus is right there with this eclipse does suggest even more significance for you. Significance in the realm of love, yes. Venus is goddess of love. Venus is ruling planet of your opposite sign. All of that highlighted now. So there's that element to this, but then there's also an element to this that has to do with you seeing yourself with more loving eyes. You saying, you know what, I'm going to value myself. I'm going to love myself enough to admit what I really want right now and who it is that I really am. When any celestial phenomenon takes place in your sign, it touches a place of getting in touch with your heart, what you most identify with. But it also has to do with getting in touch with not only your heart, but also on a level of identity. Like, this is who I am. When you have a solar eclipse taking place in your sign, who you are really starts to walk a brand new path. It is as if you see who you were, or you see yourself and realize that what you've been doing is really not congruent with who you truly are and the direction you need to now walk. And so I've seen very dramatic things take place in people's lives at this time, where they really start to walk a dramatically different path. And if that is what you're called to do, then be open to it, because it does look like it is going to be a path that leads you towards greater softness, certainly, but also greater love as well. Love from others, yes, but love for yourself as well. Hello, fabulous Sagittarius. This week we have Mercury slowing down, a slowed down Mercury, retrograde Mercury, speaking with Jupiter, your ruling planet. And that take place in the early part of the week. And by the time we get to the late part of the week, we have got this eclipse happening in the sign just before yours. We have got Mercury standing still in the sky. And I look at this taking place, this configuration taking place, and it suggests to me, it's almost as if you've been talking about something and you feel like you got to keep talking about it. It might even feel for some of you that there's a last little bit to do, whether it has to do with fulfilling a process. For some of you, it's going to be fulfilling a promise. So it's about really bringing to resolution and fulfilling the things that you said that you would do. And for some of you, this is going to be on the level of heart. Like, I made a promise, I have to do it, I have to complete this. For others, it's going to be a little bit more cerebral. Okay, so it may end up actually being a work project or connected to a situation that a friend is going through. But regardless, it does look like a continuation that now you're ready to bring to a resolution, part of an ongoing situation, most likely with a friend, however, can impact or can speak to other areas of your life as well. And with this, I do think that something within you is going to start to understand that you're moving not only in a new direction, but you're expanding yourself, who you understand yourself to be, what it is that you truly not only desire necessarily, but what it is that you're hoping for, what it is that you're wishing for. All of that becomes highlighted for you now. And in the process, I do think that there's an element here that has to do with vision. The vision for your life is changing. You are slowly being put on a different path. And I think you're going to find with this fresh perspective that now is trying to come in, with you releasing any limitations that maybe you weren't really aware were there, with you letting go, almost like I'm seeing an energetic letting go of what you no longer need, and you bringing to resolution the things that you are ready to bring to a close. You'll find yourself better able to embrace and better able to recognize that you truly are on that path of eventually realizing the vision that you now have for where it is that you desire to go. Hello, fabulous Capricorn. This week we have an eclipse taking place in a part of the sky for you that has to do with friendship. This eclipse is happening with Venus, okay? And it is happening at the very beginning of this sign of Scorpio, the part of the sky that has to do with friendships. And so I look at this for you, and it suggests a few different things. One is it can suggest romance with a friend. That it's almost as if I'm seeing, for those of you open to romance, open to that, open to love, really, it's almost as if I'm seeing you having a moment with a friend that feels like this could actually be something. Is this what I think it is? Is this going to go somewhere? And you have this moment, and then now what? It's almost like that's the type of feeling I'm seeing, because it is as if something happens that is about bringing love and about expanding you on a level of heart, But then it becomes, where do we go with this? What is this going to mean? Is it going to mean anything? Is there any action? Is this just going to be one isolated moment? Is this just all in my head? Or is this actually something that's going to manifest more fully? Well, I do think that this week is more about the moment, okay? And what I mean by that is allow any experiences that need to happen. Some of you, actually, the experience might come next week. And if that's the case, just be open to it. Remember that this is what I shared. But I do think that for some of you, when this moment happens, there's no need to have an answer. There's going to be a part of you that wants it, that wants the answer. However, a lot of the focus really is going to be on you in some sense this week. You've got Mercury standing still in a part of the sky that has to do with career achievement for you. So it really is about you understanding what has been, what you've achieved now, where you want to go forward. And so there's an element here that has to do with you. So whatever it is that happens, allow it to be a great experience and then bring the focus to where it is asking to be put. And know that the issues that do arise are going to find a fuller resolution, or at least the conversation that needs to be had, the follow-up that needs to be had, that is actually going to take place for you just a little bit down the road once we get you into the month of November. Hello, fabulous Aquarius. This week we have an eclipse taking place in a part of the sky for you that has to do with career, with life purpose, with understanding how high you want to go, with understanding your direction, even your mission as well. And so these are pretty big topics, and you've actually been going through these lessons slowly but surely since late 2012 as Saturn's been moving through this part of the sky. Now, with this eclipse, this to me represents a new idea, a new opportunity, a new beginning. Keep in mind, though, it is a beginning, okay? So it's almost as if you have an inspiration of what you want to do next, or why you're doing what you're doing, or what your real purpose is, or what your real mission is. And from that place, it is as if now you can start to put a lot of things together and put a lot of things into place that you can really start to implement in this last phase of Saturn moving through this part of the sky. So beginning late this year, in the last few days of this year, Saturn will leave this part of the sky, and throughout next year, or at least for the early part of next year, for the beginning, the first right into the fall, we'll be swimming back and forth, returning to this part of the sky as well a little bit later. So I'll talk a lot more about that in the Saturn specials that are upcoming. But having said that, with this eclipse, I think that this is going to feel like one of those moments when a lot of things are coming together for you. And not necessarily, when I say coming together, yes, there is an element here of you working hard, with you strengthening your ambition, with you clarifying your direction, with you getting clear on what really matters. All of that has been happening slowly but surely. Now it is that work and that sort of the time that you've put in brings you to this moment of inspiration, brings you to this moment of clarity, brings you to this moment of opportunity. For some of you, this may seem like a dramatic departure, but it really isn't. It is as if a lot of the information you've been getting slowly but surely now seems to come together, where you understand what it is that you're doing a lot more clearly, what it is that you want to implement, what it is that you're trying to do. A certain cohesion is what begins to happen for you now in a very purposeful kind of way. It has been happening, it has been in the works, but now it happens in a way where there's the clarity to it as well. And with that, there's also the opportunity as well. Pay really close attention to what kinds of opportunities are coming up, what kinds of conversations you're having, what kinds of experiences you're having, because all of these are going to speak to ultimately just what it is that you most desire to do, what it is that's actually going to help you feel that you are fulfilling that mission and actually are on the road and actually living true to what you believe you're meant to do. Hello, fabulous Pisces. This week we have an eclipse taking place in a part of the sky for you that has to do with vision, and it has to do with stepping out into more of the world. So I do think that, when I look at something like this, it can suggest dramatic new beginnings in the area of whether it's actually traveling or moving across your country, moving to another country, the resolution of immigration issues almost seeming overnight. This can also have to do with you sort of being inspired or being called to a location even. So if that happens, allow that to come forward. I also think that there's an element here because Saturn's been in this part of the sky for an extended period of time. If you've already been sort of engaging in a new place, been called to a new place, this is you understanding why it is that the universe brought you there when it brought you there. So all of that seems to be coming together for you. Now, it is going to further whatever comes up now. New opportunities are going to further once we get you into November. There is also an element here of, and I think that this is going to play out for some, where if you are in a process of higher education or have wanted to get higher education, this can be you, out of the blue, getting a notice saying, you were on the waiting list. Now we have space for you. This can be you sort of deciding that you want to change majors. This can be you realizing that you've actually got to go another way, go another path. But for all that, it does look like a lot of clarity is coming in. It does look like something's a new adventure is about to call you, whether it's an adventure of a land, adventure of a new way of thinking, a new exploration, new intellectual exploration. All of that seems to be calling you now, and it looks like it's very inviting, and it looks like the promise of a lot of fun is there as well. So it's going to be up to you to take that call. And I do think that in some way this does represent sort of a karmic unfolding, if you will, where if you do trust that adventure that's calling you, you're going to find yourself put on a path that truly resonates with you on a very deep level of soul. Well, thank you so much to all signs out there. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.